Hi everyone, welcome to another of my live watch party paintings. This is Nina Camplin and this is the Paint Along with Nina session. Today I've been asked by Vanessa Williams to do palette knife painting. So I'm going to just show you how I would do it myself. I'm using a recycled canvas again. I've painted over this one about 3 times so far. So this one, it was a sunset originally, and then I covered it with tissue paper, and then I painted the fox, which I've decided to get rid of that now. So I've sanded this down this morning, so it's still got a lot of texture on it, but it's got a nice flatter surface than it did have because I've flattened it out with the sanding. So just to say a little bit about palette knife painting, this is the palette knife that I'm going to be using. Now the original design of these was to scrape your palette clean of paint, so palette knife painting developed from there really. And I'm going to do this picture again. This is the view of Glendochty Pass up in the Highlands in Scotland. Now I did this a couple of weeks ago with pointillism. There you can see this is all done with Sharpie pens, and you can see it's all tiny dots. And I did it again as a sketch on the day that I went there, and this was a watercolour. Now I quite liked the looseness of this. I thought that captured the wildness of the Highlands a lot better than the pointillism, but I liked the colour that I had on the pointillist painting, with all these bright yellows and oranges in the middle here, which I was doing from, this is a photoshopped version that I did to zap the colours up. So I'm going to try and do something in between the two today. And when I do a palette knife painting, I usually try and work from the back forwards. So I'm going to start with the sky area, and then I'm going to start working in front of that, and I'm going to try and keep the sky quite flat, and then bring some more texture into the mountains when I start putting those in. So I'm going to start off with white, and I'm going to just smooth this across the sky. I'm going to add in just a little bit of colour into this. I'm using a cerulean blue. Just going to put a little bit on the knife and then mix it into the background white. And then in this area of the sky here, I'm going to just have a little bit of magenta coming in. And just knock that back a little bit with the white more. And bring it down a little bit further, I think. I don't know if you can see from there, but I'm getting quite a lot of texture from the old canvas coming through, which kind of adds to the palette knife effect. Okay. I've just got a little bit of a a distant mountain in here, and then I'm going to start putting the back hills in on both sides. And keeping with the cerulean blue and the magenta at the moment, I'm just going to make them very pale. I'm coming in from this side. And then I've got a distant lake to put in here, so I'm going to do that with mainly white. A little bit of cerulean blue. And come across here. I'm just getting the bottom of this hill in now. The distance. Okay, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try and get all this, the yellow foreground in. I'm going to just put the paint directly onto the canvas and then move it around. Bring this right down to the bottom. I'm going to work in some orangey colour here, so I'm going to mix some yellow with some cadmium red. The same on this side. Next I'm going to start getting the dark of the mountains in. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use all three colours here. I've also got a deep violet. So I'm actually looking at mixing some of the violet with the yellow. I should get a nice deep brown because they're complementary colours. So I'm going to go in from the sides and start getting these mountains in. You can try a different variety of marks with a palette knife as well. As you notice, I was doing sweeping marks following the contours of the hills, and then where I want to show more kind of foliage, I'm almost creating a kind of suction, almost like a vacuum, that's pulling the paint off the knife, so you're getting more of a textured kind of mark there. Coming from the other side here. Got a big mountain that comes in front of these distant ones here, so I'm going to come down from there. my palettes now. I'm mixing all the colours together, so they're not overly mixed, but they're kind of like blending a bit more. I just feel that there's a big kind of large piece of magenta coming in here. I'm going to actually put it on canvas. This does use a hell of a lot of paint when you work with a palette knife. I'll stick this in here. The other thing you can do with a palette knife, as well as adding on, you can also scratch back. So I want to bring this path in here. So I'm going to give myself an indication. It kind of comes across there. I think it's actually a road. Just going to get this corner in here. It's quite orangey. Using cadmium red and cadmium yellow. So I think what I'll do is now is I'll leave this to dry, because I want to put in there's some fence posts in here, but I don't really want to do that while it's soaking wet. I want to tidy this up a little bit as well. The thing to do, if you've got a palette knife, have a go, see what different kind of strokes you can get with it, because there are all kinds of things you can do. You can get nice kind of flat sweeping marks with it. You can get quite textured marks if you pile the paint on quite thickly. You can get really quite sharp lines. I'll show you one of the posts if you do them kind of on the edge like that. So you can get the gate posts in. You can scrape back with it, so if you've got an underlying colour underneath your painting, you can start taking it back. So for instance, I just want to take some of this magenta back a bit. You can see the colour coming from underneath. Because I use such a textured canvas, you can see all these little sparkles come through where the paint's not gone through onto the textured surface, which all quite adds to it. So I'm going to leave that for now anyway, and I hope you'll all have a go, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!